Will the virtuous Sangha, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach and guide us how to end birth and death, leave suffering and attain bliss, and quickly realize non-birth. Cung kính đại đức tăng thịnh, ý thứ pháp ôi cấp nhất thiết chúng sanh, tịnh chuyên diệu vào luân giao đạo ngã một, như há liêu sanh thoát tư ly khổ đạc lạc, tất chứng vô sanh. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Nam mô Saranto Suchedo Ye Alahodi San Miao Samputos Ye. Nam mô Tát Tát Tha Tuya Daya Alahade Tamil Tambo Da Toa. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma, 100,000 billion aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I'm able to see and hear, I will receive and maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual principles. Wu shang sheng she wei miao fa, bai jian wan jian an zao yu, wo jian jian wen de shou qi, yan jie ru lai zhe shi yi. All Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Venerable 6th Patriarch, Venerable HsuanHua, Venerable Left people, and all good advisors of Emitofuo. Chư Phật Bồ Tát kính thưa Lục Tổ, Thượng Kiến Thoa quý Thầy Cô và quý vị thiện tri thức A Di Đà Phật. Chư Phật Bồ Tát, Liêu Chủ Sư Phụ Sang Rần,各位出家人，各位善知识阿弥陀佛。Today is the 13th of June, 2020. We are broadcasting from Way Mountain Temple in Rosemead, California. We are at the end of the second week of the summer Chanchi, and we are continuing to lecture on the 6th Patriarch Sutra. Right now, we are on chapter 7, chapter 1. Okay, there must be a mistake. Let me see if I can find the proper should be on chapter 7, I think. Okay. 6th Patriarch. Sorry everyone, technical difficulties. We're on the wrong chapter. Question from the internet.
Outstanding question from last week.
Outstanding question from last week.
How do you...
Normal question, or it has to be outstanding question?
This is a question.
Oh, excuse me.
How do you give fearlessness?
How do you give fearlessness? Good question. Brady is here. How do you give fearlessness in the era of pandemic that we have, as an example? How do you give fearlessness? Okay, while we're waiting for the slides to be loaded, we started talking about the essential Mahayana Dharmas. All Mahayana Dharmas are based on the 6 Paramitas. All the practices are based on the 6 Paramitas. Paramitas are Sanskrit words for arriving to the other shore, meaning in Buddhist jargon, it means that you attain liberation. The other shore alludes to the fact we are here in a shore of suffering, and we somehow manage to cross the ocean, the sea of suffering, and go to the other shore of nirvana, where there's no more suffering but only bliss. Okay, that's what it means by arriving at the shore. It also means, in general, success, achievement. Okay, so the 6 Paramitas are the 6 major classes of dharmas that all Mahayana practices are based on, fall within one of the 6 Paramitas, okay, or a combination of these 6 Paramitas, if you will, okay. Unfortunately, and the 6 Paramitas information explanation is primarily in Chinese, and the whatever is available in English, I tried to find it once years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, is really not available. Is not that good. The best ones are from my master's explanation in Chinese that was later translated into English by his disciples at many different locations. So sometimes it's very short, sometimes it elaborates on this and that. But the source of information is for the 6 Paramitas in English that I could find online, was from the great Patriarch Nagarjuna, the Lungshu, the dragon tree Bodhisattva. Okay. He explained in great details on. Now what happened to the frame? Oh, it's slow. It's loading. This is an old laptop. That's why it's slower to load. Anyway, so for us to practice the Bodhisattva Vehicle, practice Mahayana, we need to understand the 6 Paramitas. And Great Master Dragon Tree Patriarch, Bodhisattva Patriarch, explained it. And it's fairly detailed. I found it to be theoretical. Okay, he was a fourth ground Bodhisattva, and therefore these Bodhisattvas were very erudite. They specialize in erudition. They very well read, but so well-read meaning they read a lot of texts. Okay, they're voracious readers, and they understand a lot. But the way he explained it to me, especially when it was translated into English, is too theoretical, and it lacks the details of how to execute. So I started explaining to you the 6 Paramitas. Where are we? Why are we on this slide here? Okay, we're on slide 299. Now, because this Chan Mug, after you have to refer to the last Sunday's lecture, because it's too long to explain to you. This Chu Chang here basically was skillfully brought to a 4-stage arhatship by the great master Huineng. So he was very happy, and then wasn't long after he asked about the sound hearers vehicles and the Bodhisattva vehicles and the supreme vehicle, and that's why the 6th Patriarch started explaining. So before that, I had to explain to you what these various vehicles are about. In summary, the Arhat vehicles is the vehicles that have many dharmas to practice, but the major basis is the 4 Noble Truths. Okay, and the Pratyeka vehicle is based on the 12 conditioned links. And that's very, very interesting. We talked about that last week, last Sunday. And now we were beginning to talk about the Bodhisattva vehicle, which is based on the 6 Paramitas. 6 Paramitas being number 1, giving, on slide 299. Number 2, morality. Number 3, patience. Number 4, vigor. Number 5, samadhi or dhyana concentration. Number 6, wisdom. So giving, as we started by explaining last week, is giving has 3 kinds. The way the Chinese explain it is you give of wealth. Okay, as one option, wealth meaning your money, whatever material things, including your own labor, that's called giving of wealth. Number 2, giving of the Dharma, meaning you speak the Dharma for others. Okay, and finally the giving of fearlessness. Okay, it's a lot more than I can explain to you in 1 hour, 2 hours for these 3 things. So I only explain to you the gist of it and give you a quick summary. But what I tried to do, explain to you things that you will not find in the books, because the way the Chinese teach their followers, I find it to be, how shall we say it? Too Chinese, something like that. Okay, so I summarize for you, because you can read a lot of things in Chinese, in French, in English, in Vietnamese, Korean, whatever. You can find plenty of materials on those. But basically, the Paramita of Giving is meant for you as a way of practice. It's not meant for you as discussion or as knowledge, for discussion, for debate, for intellectual pursuits. Okay, it's about when the Buddha taught us about the 6 Paramitas, it's meant for us to know what they are and how to use them in our daily lives. So the first thing all Mahayana disciples and students of the way are taught is giving, which is quite, admittedly, unusual for Westerners, because Westerners are not used to giving. Westerners are used to what? Buying. Yes? You go to somewhere and you give money in exchange for something else. So no such a thing as giving. Okay? Giving is, you look at it as a charity, as philanthropy, which is quite different from Buddhism. Okay? It's only a small form of giving. Okay? So giving for the way that the Chinese explain to themselves are the three things: the wealth, giving of the Dharma, giving of the fearlessness. And my master in particular, as true to most Chinese teachers, they all stress they have to give Dharma. Foremost of giving is giving the Dharma. I should not be using fingers inappropriately. If I do, it's unintentional. I was about to do the fingers to counting, but I caught myself in the last second. Okay, so to the Chinese, you learn on the Chinese, the Vietnamese, and so on. The traditional teaching is that when you practice giving, you give of the Dharma, meaning that you speak Dharma for others. Okay. You go home, you grab your husband's shoulder and say, you know, honey, I learned something wonderful today. Let me tell you, I've been giving you Dharma, because that's the foremost giving practice. No, don't do that. Okay, it's not meant for you to explain Dharma to your husband until he asks for it. If he doesn't ask for it, for God's sake, do not say anything. Okay, so the Chinese, that's how I learned it. When originally I came and everyone said, I'm gonna speak Dharma to you. Okay, and these people just read it and they immediately rush and find someone, let me give you, the Dharma. I practice giving Dharma to you because it generates the most kind of blessing, the highest level of blessing for me. I find it disgusting. Okay? And that's all people talk about. I say, they said, I need to learn how to give the Dharma. And that's why when I explain to you this giving and paramita, which is fundamental, this is a starting point. Okay, Westerners don't like it. Tough luck. Okay, but the giving is. Those three things, okay, are called true giving, and you practice true giving. In that, when you do true giving, you give all three. You don't just say, "Let me give, practice giving so that I can maximize my blessings." That's not good enough for us Westerners. Okay. I always had a conflict with that. Even when I listened to my Chinese master's teaching, I said, something is off. Why would the Buddha teach us about three kinds of giving and everyone only rushes to practice one kind of giving only? That doesn't make sense. Okay? Shakyamuni Buddha taught about three types of giving, in order to tell you they're equally important. No differently than you need to have balance in your life. All right? You cannot say that I'm gonna only interested in making money and then sacrifice my family life, sacrifice my intellectual life, my spiritual life. Yes? So you see, the Buddha taught to me personally, if I were to train my disciples, I would say practice giving of wealth, okay? Meaning that give material things, whether it's money, whether your sense organs, not just your organs, somebody else's organs. Giving of the organs is another issue that I rather find funny, that many of the Buddhist disciples, after hearing they're supposed to give in their internal organs, they sign away, especially in the US, they sign away on their driver's license. I want to give away my organs if I die in an accident. I say, please don't do that. Okay, that's not wise of you. Don't do that. So anyway, because after you die, and the doctors opens you up and cut up your heart and your liver and your kidneys, it hurts like hell. It still hurts like hell. And you're going to be so afflicted. And you regret that you checked that box in your driver's license, at least in California, where I'm going to give you my internal organs. That's silly. If you're that afflicted, you'll fall. Okay, so avoid it unless you have some real kung fu, that someone will take a knife and cut your arm off, you feel no pain, then fine, by all means, give away your organs after you die. Okay, but you can't do that. Do not give away your organs, please, unless you want to take a chance and see if you're going to fall or not. Most likely you will. Questions? 5 fingers.
원택스님 얘기한 거 보고. The practice of giving fearlessness, 원택스님 says, how about not wearing the mask?
In this pandemic thing, don't wear the mask. I don't think it's wise. I would wear a mask. Yeah. He's in Korea, so the Koreans have it under control. So it's not as scary as in the U.S. right now. In the U.S., our fearless leader is still trying to figure things out. Sorry, touch a soft nerve again. All right. Yes, it might work in Korea. Let me come to that. And let me give people, because there's so many new faces tonight, so allow me to expand a little bit more about the giving paramita for you. Okay, again, I have plenty of information about giving, so be patient. I'm not repeating. I tend not to repeat myself. Okay? So you practice giving, outside giving, outer giving, meaning you give things outside yourself. You give money, you give, I don't know, you give labor, you give your car, you give whatever. That's called outer living, giving. And then your inner living is referred to as your internal organs and stuff like that. Okay, and that's another form of giving of wealth. So far, so good. Okay, and then you have the giving of the Dharma. Preferably, you should know the Dharma. Okay, let me backtrack. So the giving, the objective of practicing giving of wealth is to keep on giving. To me, I gave you a clue last weekend, gave you a tip. You have to keep on giving and giving because your natural instinct, especially for you Western educated people, your natural instinct is always measuring, okay, calculating. Okay, I give something, what do I get in return? If you do that, okay, that's called poor giving. Okay, and it's natural. We all do that. I do that. Before I left the home life, when I left the home life, I gave nothing to my teacher because no one gave me anything. So why should I give him anything? Okay. So anyway, so the purpose of giving, you need to first practice giving wealth. Okay, Don't tell me about giving the Dharma yet. Please practice giving wealth, because you're giving wealth, you are accruing blessings. Okay? When it's time for you to cultivate, you need support, you need money, you need clothes, you need shelters, you need medicine. Okay? Those things are the blessings you accrue that you reap from the giving of wealth. So now you can see why I insist that you should be practicing all three types of givings, not just one. How can you become enlightened if you don't get material things to support, to sustain your cultivation? Right? Okay, now, the paramita of the giving of wealth is achieved when, because we talk about paramita, right? This is, how do we know I get there? When do I get there? How do I realize I get there? All right? And one of the tips I give you, you get there because when you practice giving, okay, you're stingy. You are profoundly stingy. Yes or no? Agree or disagree? You know, I'm very stingy. It's come from reflex response. My hard-earned money. What you talk? Are you kidding? Me giving away my sweat and blood? So the Buddha is the Bodhisattva Dharma is very, very challenging, because you keep on giving, and the tip I give you is you give. If you practice giving, keep giving until it hurts. You keep on giving, it hurts. That's when you get rid of your stinginess. So, for example, the people that are admired, like Mr. Gates, who does tremendous philanthropy work. Yeah, I read recently that he gave away $50 billion of his fortune. Okay, that's impressive. Okay, but he gives. Does it hurt for him? Hell no. Not at all. Not at all. So he may be giving $50 billion, but he's not attaining the paramita. Whereas someone like you, who's not as rich, but you keep giving, you give $5, $10, $100, $1,000, and it hurts. And you keep on giving and giving. Your wife complains, you keep on giving. Okay? And that brings you a lot closer to that paramita than someone who's wealthier. Okay? So that's the clue. Give and give and give until it hurts. Don't stop. Don't tell yourself, that's enough, you know. Anyway, that's the tip, okay? The giving of wealth, give until it hurts. Give the Dharma, okay. You give the Dharma, absolutely. You give the Dharma by preferably explaining to people Mahayana principles. Okay? Do not explain Hinayana principles. Because Hinayana principles is dead end. All right? You don't want to bring people to the dead end, because you yourself eventually will come to a dead end yourself. Okay? So you want, again, my tip to you is explain to them like the 6 Paramitas. All right? Eventually. So you explain, you give the Mahayana principles. Okay? And what is the highest form of Dharma giving? Anyone? Yeah, it's 5 fingers.
Master, if you can help people to improve samadhi power, is this part of Dharma giving?
Yes.
Then I feel that that's the highest form of giving. Maybe not. I don't know. Okay.
Sounds like a salesperson. I give you the Dharma. This is the highest possible form of Dharma giving. Anyone else have a better way to practice Dharma giving? Yes, internet.
Printing sutras, living the home life.
Printing sutras, living the home life, all those are good things because you're spreading the good words, the true wisdom, the ultimate wisdom. Yes, absolutely. What else?
The Vajra Sutra says the highest form of giving, explaining the 4-line Gatha.
Okay, that's also explaining Mahayana Dharmas. Okay, what else? Yes, sir, back there. Orange.
Helping someone alleviate suffering in their life.
Help someone alleviate suffering in life. Not directly. Not directly in giving of the Dharma. Giving Dharma is more of in the brains here. Okay, in the knowledge realm. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, 5 fingers.
뭐라고? 인매시? So Inme says to enlighten yourself, and then one text name says explaining sutras. And then maybe for me, I feel maybe help people to find good learning advisor.
I'm moving to Korea. It's so much easier to teach people like that. Very good. Okay. In Buddhism, we to practice the Dharma is a form of teaching, isn't it? Yes? You teach people with your knowledge of the Dharma, of the superior knowledge, of the ultimate knowledge. And what's the best way to teach? Yes, sir. By example. Absolutely. Shakyamuni Buddha taught by example. He never asked anyone to do anything he wouldn't do himself. So he did it first before he would ask anyone, would tell anyone to do it. Right? So the best way to practice, to give the Dharma is to become enlightened yourself. I'm not talking about small enlightenment of the sound hearers, of the Arhats, of Pratyekabuddha vehicles. I'm talking about the enlightenment of a Bodhisattva. You become enlightened. So you yourself don't even need to say a single word, but your mere presence, okay, speaks so loudly of what the state of a superior person is. Okay? And people believe it more, and your children believe it more. Agree? Well, that's what you do. You want to, yes, you can give, you can say, yes, my Mahayana teacher says so and so, that's his starting point. But ultimately, okay, the real Dharma giving is by becoming enlightened to me. Okay, again, the Chinese don't talk like that. They don't say, giving just to talk of Mahayana principles. If you talk about Mahayana principles and people look at you, and you lack credibility, aren't you not helping the cause of this propagation of Mahayana principles? Okay, so that's why you yourself should become enlightened first, and then after that, learn how to speak the Dharma. Okay, and that's the ultimate form of Dharma giving. All right? Questions? Very good. So the Chinese, the Koreans are pretty impressive. Second weekend in a row. Oh, wow. Okay. And I forgot what Xianan's point here was. I don't remember. It's okay. I'm getting too old. Anyway, you have to forgive me. Number 3, giving of fearlessness, which is the original question. How do you practice giving of fearlessness? You give fearlessness by, very simple, by reassuring, comforting others when they are fearful, when they are worried. Okay, and the Westerners have a very nice practice. Naturally, the Westerners will come and comfort you, whereas us Asians are much slower in doing that. When I observe it, when people are fearful, I notice the Westerners are much faster, much more effective at providing fearlessness than us Asians. Okay, so we can learn something from the Westerners. All right, and this pandemic here. So how do you give fearlessness in a pandemic here? Very simple. The people are fearful, so you have to alleviate the fears by whatever means possible. If it means wearing a mask, wear a mask. If it means practice social distancing, do it. Okay, as long as whatever it takes to relieve the fear, but. Also, you should go a lot further than that. That is, you have to try to get to the root cause of the fear. Okay? For us, our humble way of giving fearlessness is that we don't wear masks, we don't practice social distancing. And we haven't done that since December, when I am aware of the coronavirus, who hurt one of our followers in China, in Wuhan, China. And we healed that person. Okay, so very early on, we have contact. We got conditioned with them to help me realize that it's really not a threat to us personally. Okay, so that's why I gave my disciples, my followers who come to the temple, that fearlessness by myself not wearing a mask, by myself not worrying about it. Some of my followers gave me the virus, I killed it. So and those of you who got in trouble, we help some of you recover as well. Okay, also help you recover. So you ask them. Well, this temple here, the regulars here for the last since December, even during the lockdown, we are not fearful at all. No one is afraid in our temple at all. Those who come here are not afraid. And now that they lifted the lockdown, people have come to me and said, now I'm being forced to go back to work. I don't want to go back to work because it lacks the proper conditions for safety. Like you want air circulation, you want to avoid being too close to people. So I said to some of them, I said, well, my humble opinion, your samadhi level, because you've been training here for years, your samadhi level is very high. They cannot harm you. Okay? So that's giving a fearlessness. Okay? And just in case you still have a doubt, say, I don't know, it's my life, it's not yours. I mean, and people told me, Master, you may be able to kill the virus, but I can't. So that's, I'm sure it's back on a lot of people's mind. So I say, in the case that, because if you get in trouble, go back, don't worry, go to work and do your best at work, and you should be able to get rid of the virus. It cannot harm you. And if, in case that you're in trouble, call me. I will help you. Okay, like I help some people already get rid of it. Okay, that's even more fearlessness. Okay, so giving fearlessness is finding a way to get rid of the root source of the fear, ultimately. Okay, and in doing that, I assure you, I feel, and I have no proof, because I had to fly to Korea to find out that, because we couldn't have any testing in the US. I couldn't get any testing done. So I had to fly to Korea. Cost us how much? Like $1,400 per head for work, of course. But that's how we found out that we are negative. We tested negative, all three of us. And then not once, but also twice. Someone came back. One of my disciples, who is a third stage Arhat, went back to Korea, and she also tested negative again. Okay, so what we're telling you is from experience. It's not from trying to impress people. It's just that you clearly, since we don't worry about it, I'm sure that some of our regulars got infected, and look at them, none of them died. I got infected, I'm pretty sure. Yes.
What is the best way to give back to our good knowing advisor if we are poor?
Give back the good knowing advisor when you're poor? God, I'm not sure your good knowing advisor wants to be your good knowing advisor. Really? Really that poor? You can't even think of something? You're so poor you can't think of anything you can give? You're so poor, no one wants you. How can you even think that you are so poor that you can't give to your good knowing advisor? Yes, go for it. Go ahead.
Master, can you hear us?
Very well.
Master, I have something I want to share about giving the fearlessness.
The sound is pretty good, huh? What are we doing? Oh my God. Go on, please.
So before, like years before, when I haven't been a disciple of Master yet, so when I try to do something good, practice the Dharma, I in my heart, inside myself, I really feel fearless. I feel fear of something. I don't know why. But
Yes.
when after become a master disciple, and after a while, so I don't know why the fear, the feeling of fear like is gone away. I don't know why. So I think someone have given me the fearlessness.
Is that the whole story?
Yes, Master.
Oh my God, what a disappointment. There's no great success, there's nothing, it's just gone. It just disappears. It's fantastic. It's because the environment we live in, we are Mahayana cultivators. We have no fear whatsoever. Okay? And if you ask, I asked once a few months ago, went around to my room and asked my disciples, what do you fear? okay? And they fear whatever. But in Mahayana, you practice Mahayana properly because you've been practicing giving with fearlessness. Eventually, okay, by helping alleviate the fear, and in particular, if you're able to resolve the fears in others, okay, that's paramita, and that's the you achieve you accomplish the giving of fearlessness by being able to zap the root source of their fears. Okay, as a comment about that, I'm glad to hear that he has no fear because he gave up everything else. There's nothing left to fear. Nothing left he can lose, he could possibly lose. But that's a true spirit of Mahayana. We totally fearless. Okay. And that's and when you fearless, you actually it rubs off you when people come near you. They naturally absorb it. All right. Does it help? How do you practice giving fearlessness? The question. Okay. If it's not clear, ask again. Okay, so that's the first right there. The giving, the practicing giving right there. Okay? And the reason I stress of why the Buddha taught us that we need to practice giving of fearlessness is because that's required for you to become enlightened. The Arhats, the Pratyekabuddha vehicles, okay, they cannot become enlightened because they don't practice the giving of fearlessness. They don't know any better. It's impossible. Okay? That's why I say it's a dead end practice. Because you attain this wonderful, have this wonderful achievement, and then boom, you're dead in your tracks. Okay, because of your own achievements. All right, does it help? I'm giving you some tips because I feel that the Chinese is too theoretical. Okay, and it's okay to read about it, to talk about it, but it doesn't help you to truly understand the practice of giving. Okay, and this is the weakness of the Chinese approach and Indian approach. They debate, or Tibetan, or you name it. They love to debate each other. I know more than you. You know more. You're doing it already. You don't need to debate. You don't need to argue. Okay? Nonsense. Are we okay with the practice of giving? Yes, question.
Dạ thưa Thầy. Dạ, nếu như mà tu luyện cái số 7 trong 42 thủ nhãn mà hồi hướng cho tất cả chúng sinh thì có phải là một hình thức bố thí vô ý hay không?
Yes, absolutely. He's asking about our in-house practice called the Four Two Hands and Eyes, which is a tantric dharma that our lineage has. It has it has one hand, number 7. It's called the hand of the fearlessness, meaning, for example, when people are fearful, okay, you use that hand right there. and that person will become less and less fearful. Very good. Okay. In particular, when you found yourself fearful, you can recite it. Will alleviate your own fears. So we have a lot of tools. Okay. Thank you for pointing it out to me. Yes.
Master, if you're fearful, what's the difference between sitting in full lotus and reciting the hands and eyes?
Okay. It's an expedient we have. My master, this came from my late Chinese master, Master HsuanHua, who says, if you meditate, okay, you should consider reciting mantras as well, because the mantras will aid in your meditation. That's how we do. Okay, so we have a lot more Dharma doors as far as Chan goes. You can do the Hua like the Koreans love to do, or the Japanese are proud of themselves as we do the Gungan and those things. For us, we have many, many more Dharmas as far as Chan goes. But one great advantage of reciting those mantras, especially 4 2 hands and eyes mantra, Shranga mantra, especially 4 2 hands and eyes mantras, is that you are meditating, you are aiding yourself, and you're preparing to do Dharma propagation work. Okay? Because you develop the tools and the skills to do it. Case in point. You have a hand that says it helps you practice the giving of fearlessness. Okay? So that's why it's very, very, very useful. And so if you have received transmission of that, definitely I encourage you to use it in your meditation practice. Okay? But I stress again, you need to receive transmission. Please do not make the mistake that a lot of people do. They find these documents online about this Dharma here, and you should not recite them until someone who's authorized to transmit them to you. Okay? Otherwise, you are committing what is called Dharma theft, meaning that, number one, you won't be able to succeed in that practice. Number two, you will not be allowed transmission in the future. And if you give transmission through your lies and whatever, you will just waste your time. You won't succeed. So Korea has a question.
I just have a comment. So, more than one time, around a few times, Korean cultivators have mentioned that mantra practice has helped them because they usually have some kind of obstruction. For that reason, they couldn't move forward. They've been stuck. And then when they meet our Dharma, they have mentioned to me personally that, I never really realized how important it is to practice mantra to help. Because they never learn, and they usually learn to do hatha, and they a lot of times they face obstructions. It's just comments that I heard from multiple people.
Yeah, it helps. It's true. It help a lot of people. It's true. That's why people really like to practice mantra. That's why the Tibetans who pride themselves, who seldom promote themselves as Tantra practitioners, try to make a name for themselves. But the one thing that I need to caution these people, is that when you practice mantras, you need to receive transmission. Why? The transmission is important because when you see transmission, actually, we send you Dharma protectors over to your house, your office, your mountain, your valleys, so that when you practice, you have protection. You don't have protection, you will not be able to practice. Okay, I'll give you an example. There is a disciple of Master HsuanHua who is not authorized to transmit the hands and eyes Dharma. He transmits it because the people heard about it and they're very impressed. They said, this is one of the superior Dharmas, okay, in the world. So they follow him and give him money and supported him and everything, whatever he wanted. And so they practice these things. That's fine, that's his problem, okay, that's their problems. But the point here is that when he himself tried to practice it, okay, he could not. Actually, he got into a lot of trouble. And his followers definitely will have a lot of problems. Okay, if they don't see any problems yet because they're doing it wrong or they're getting nowhere. Okay, because this Dharma is extremely delicate and they're very powerful. That's why the demons will come and stop you dead in your tracks. Okay, if you have no problems, I mean that your practice is inconsequential. And that's when you have demon obstructions, you need protection. Absolutely. Don't think you can do it by yourself. You can't. Okay? And that's why when people transmit, I remind the monks and nuns, when you transmit these tantric dharmas, actually we have to provide protection for these people. You cannot do that. Don't transmit. You're doing your followers a disservice. Okay? Yes, internet. Wow, I hope we get out of hands and eyes because I know as soon as I open this can of worms, we could be here for months.
I'd like to ask if I follow the High King Avalokitesvara Sutra from YouTube, is that okay? If there's any problem.
Follow who?
The High King Sutra? 高王真经.
High King Sutra?
High King.
High King Sutra. 大王心经.
高王真经.
I don't know that sutra.
The one, the end is Lipo Lipo Di. The front is the Guan Yin Sutra.
I don't know that sutra, so I don't know how to answer that.
You talked about it before.
I did?
Yes.
I forgot. What did I say? Anyone remember what I said? Yes, sir. Orange.
Okay, you're talking about the High King Avalokitesvara Sutra.
What? You remember all these things? This is a man who's been following me since 13, 12 years, since all the way in Orange County to here.
I recite that sutra every day.
You do?
Yeah.
It must be okay. Look at him. He looks okay to me.
Yeah.
So it should be okay. Yes.
Yeah. Should be okay.
You still okay, you know?
It's a good idea.
Okay. Okay, sure. If the Mahayana Sutra, if you recite sutras, make sure they come from a good source. Like it has come originally from the Tripitaka, and that's a store of all the Mahayana Sutras. And make sure it's a good translation as well. Okay? You don't want to use a wrong translated version. Okay? That's why I prefer to recite in Chinese, even if I don't understand anything. Okay, because it's the authentic version. You're planting all the great seeds right there, the proper seeds. Yeah, whether in Chinese, Sanskrit, whatever. Okay, it's just my personal preference, that's all. Because I saw so many translated versions that are awful, simply awful. A farce. Yes, anyone else? Okay, so we just finished talking about giving paramita. Are we okay? Okay, again, folks, okay, when you want to learn Mahayana, you have to practice giving first. And that's why I started by saying that to Westerners, this is a foreign concept. It doesn't make sense to them. Okay, that's why it's very difficult to teach Westerners. They think that we're no different from a church where you pass out and make sure that we get 10% of your salaries or the donation basket. Okay, it's not that. Okay, and we teach you these things for your own good. If you don't practice giving, you cannot go anywhere in your practice, period. Okay? The less stingy you are, okay, the further, the greater benefits you get out of it, your practice. Okay? All right, number 2. Excuse me? Number 2. The practice of giving gives you the blessings in order for you to practice morality. Morality is those do's and don'ts. Okay, there are in Buddhism, lay people called precepts. Okay, rules of morality for lay people in the forms of 5 precepts or 8 precepts. For left-home people, they have novice precepts, 10 precepts. Bhikshu, 250 preceps. Bhikshunis, 348 precepts. Okay? Those are the precepts designed to help you purify your mind. Okay? So these are the precepts, if you will. I'm not allowed to explain them to you, even lay people precepts, until you plan to take them, and because it's not meant for public domain. Okay, only to those who wish to practice these precepts. Okay, and they are wonderful. They are, to me, I enjoyed really studying and reading about these precepts because it's full of wonderful stories. These precepts originally were created by the Buddha because his disciples, when he first came, there's no precepts. And then his disciples, when they lived together, they started making mistakes. And that's when he said, okay, for the first time, I forgive you. But from now on, if you violate this rule again, you're on your own. You have to pay your own consequences. So that's how the precepts came about. Okay, so I think just between us, I feel like many of his disciples pretended to break precepts, to make boo-boos, so that the Buddha would slap them on the wrist and say, "Oh, you have to stop it. This is so unbecoming of us. Okay, so unbecoming of you." So he formulated the precepts. That's how it came about. Okay, for their own protection. So the original intent of the precepts is for our own protection. So precepts, you could think of precepts as your armor. Okay, when you observe precepts, okay, it's like you're wearing an armor. So you're a lot safer. Okay, if you you have this body armor that keeps you safer and makes you impervious to the afflictions and the sufferings of the world. Okay, you don't make mistakes. Another way of thinking of precepts is like there are boundary lines. Okay, and that's why it's important to know about precepts, Buddhist precepts. Okay, each religion have their own rules of morality, and they're very helpful, but they all are not as useful, as accurate as the Buddhist precepts. For example, the Christian 10 Commandments, okay, Catholic 10 Commandments, is basically are derived from the 5 precepts. Okay, so these precepts, the Buddhist precepts, okay, are designed to spell out the boundaries. Okay, that if you stay within the boundaries, you're safe. When you cross the boundaries, that's when you get in big trouble. Okay, that you are not likely able to recover on your own. Yes, question.
How do we know whether we are upholding the precepts or we made a mistake?
I assume this person is a lay person. Then when you take the 5 precepts, when you choose to take the 5 precepts or one of the 5 precepts, we train you. We explain to you what the 5 precepts are, not no killing, no stealing, those things. We go into great details about what they are, and in particular with the objective of helping you, teaching you on the how to maintain them, how to not violate them, which violation are okay, which type of violation that you definitely want to avoid. Okay, the Chinese would like to teach you that when you receive precepts, you should keep them even at the point, you should be willing to keep them to the point of losing your own life. To me, I find a little bit extreme. Okay, it works for the Chinese, works for the Indian, but to me, Westerners is illogical to us Westerners. Okay, it sounds like a cult to Westerners. You know, Jamestown again, Waco again. So I avoid talking about that, because it creates a wrong impression in our culture, in Western culture. And so it's true. It's fine if you have Asians and so forth, and you can tell them that you should be willing to sacrifice your life in order to keep precepts. And when you do that, you create great blessings. That's fine. But I tend to stress more on the recovery. Okay. Yes.
This is after we took precepts with Master, but during our daily practice, we don't have confirmation or reminders of how we are upholding it.
If it bothers you, you should ask someone. The person who transmitted the precepts to you is supposed to know what they are, and they're supposed to help you. We transmit precepts to you for the express purpose of benefiting you, and you benefit greatly simply by observing precepts. Okay, when you observe precepts, that creates so many blessings without having to do anything, without having to give away your money, your hard-earned money. Think about it. See that? You don't even have to give away your money to create blessings. Just be a pure and moral person. Yes? Okay. But then, again, my late Chinese master, he never taught his disciples the precepts. And it bothered the heck out of me, because then they in turn tried to teach me precepts. And after reading books, some books, so I asked the question, how do I know I violate precepts? And they couldn't tell me. Yeah. So I said, if you couldn't tell me, then aren't we missing on a huge part called morality paramita, precepts paramita? How can you possibly become enlightened? Yeah. But some of them do. So that's why I found out that it's a contradiction in terms when you think about it. It said you need to sacrifice your life in order to keep precepts. But then some of his disciples break precepts and they still become enlightened. Okay? So it's not the middle way. Okay? To us, to a person or Western educated person like myself, it sounds like phoniness. It sounds like double standards. Okay. Yes.
Violating the Ten Commandments creates sin. Then what are the consequences of violating precepts?
The sins is a concept that we don't subscribe to. Okay, it's an intellectual concept that is designed to control the masses, to control the followers, control the lambs. Okay, but for us, it has to be based on facts. It has to be based on logic as well. Precepts is extremely logical. And so when you violate precepts, you will fall to the hells. You fall to the lower realms. Okay? So if you keep the precepts, then you are free from the three poisons of greed, anger, stupidity, right there. You're pure. Okay? So there's some real consequences of your violating the precepts, because once you fall to lower realms, it's a lot more suffering than right now, where you are, for a very long, long time. Okay? Any other questions? So, my master, when he brought Mahayana to this country, he gave an expedient. He basically taught his disciples a way of life that will maintain certain precepts and ignore some others, because they can be resolved by themselves, and they will not get in the way of his disciples becoming enlightened. And that's what the results I saw. I'm not privy to that because I was not in the system long enough to be able to go all the way. Okay, conditions, circumstances forced me out, and I'm so glad it did. But the point here is that it's an aid to your practice, and you definitely want to, if you're serious about cultivation, you definitely want to practice precepts, the precepts paramita. right? Any question? Any other questions? There's a lot more than I have time to explain to you again. Because, for example, in Buddhism, we have Hinayana and Mahayana. And Hinayana and Mahayana precepts are one and the same. It's the same exact books, same exact records. Okay? So the Hinayana, they themselves specialize in studying precepts. Okay? Many of them do that. And they make a name for themselves by say, I'm a specialist in the precepts. And for example, in Taiwan, there are a few Taiwanese temples that specialize in precepts, and they're very good at that. I had to go to one of them to learn. I sent my disciple to a few, right, and learn from there. And so that's where I learned from the books, from that's called precept marks. Precept marks are the description of the precepts. Okay, the things you can see. Yeah, you can explain to you if a precept against stealing, what constitutes a violation of that precept. It's different for a lay person than for a left-home person. Okay, slightly different. So anyway, so we learned those things. I remember, so the Hinayana, they're very, very rigid. They said, I'd rather die than violate precepts. Okay? And I remember I was at that temple, and the manager, the Tangjia, it was Tangjia in English, the general manager of the temple, we have like 40 different monks being together to study precepts. We specialize on studying precepts. That's it. We do nothing but study precepts, recite Buddha's name, and meditate a little. Okay. And so the Tangjia here, one day, because of their reputation, a person who is a novice monk called him up and said, I violated one of the 5 precepts, the non-repentable portion, meaning you violated, it's extremely difficult to repent. And now I want to lead the home life. Okay? Yeah. What do I do? And the Tangjia says, you know, I have bad news for you. If you violate this thing here, you cannot lead the home life. And when I heard of that story, he told it that story himself, his own mouth. I heard that story, and I said, that reaffirms for me, why is it's really nonsensical to me that we monks transmit the 5 precepts to our followers and we don't teach them properly, including my master's temples. They don't teach their followers about how to practice the 5 precepts. Again, to me, I find it disappointing, because when we give you a Dharma, we transmit a Dharma to you, we have to help you how to practice it as well. Otherwise, it's not complete. Yeah. So they wouldn't explain how to practice the 5 precepts. Just like most temples, when they transmit the 5 precepts, they don't explain how to practice them, and these people violate them, and then they have dire consequences. And to the Hinayana, they said, "Oh, too bad. Now you ruin your life," meaning we ruin your life. Because we transmitted to you in the first place. Because they come back and say, "My God, why did you transmit it to me if you didn't teach me how to uphold it and not get in trouble?" I didn't know, because you never taught me. Yeah. That's a Hinayana. To me, I'm only telling you this story to illustrate to you the Hinayana understanding of precepts is very, very rigid. Okay? Because when people violate these precepts, Mahayana has ways to restore, to recover. Hinayana have very limited ways to recover. That's why they can't help you. And that's why it goes back to how blessed Master HsuanHua disciples are in that they're able to be under his umbrella where they follow that path, they will become enlightened. Okay, they really simplify a lot of knowledge. Okay, it's a great blessing of them to have that. Okay, but the drawback, okay, truth be told, the drawback is that their knowledge of the morality paramita is so tunnel visioned, meaning, excuse my Jewish, you don't understand a damn thing. Okay? Any questions? So, in conclusion, it's very advantageous for you to practice the morality, to receive precept and practice and try to reach the morality paramita. If you fail, okay, at least you should learn how to do it. If you fail, there are ways to help you recover. And even if you can't recover, I finally understood that it's eventually you will recover. Even though you have to suffer a lot first. And we try to minimize the consequences for you. That's all. Okay. So that's why the Master's disciples are so uptight. They say, "Oh my God, they went out of the boundary, therefore they're doomed." Okay, meaning they can't help their own kind. So, children, in the future, you definitely should learn precepts yourself. And you when you are a lot, you want to add more to the Mahayana in English, I'm willing to send you to Taiwan, to these temples, specialist temples, and learn more about the precept marks. And we have the precept substance, okay? And they have the precept marks, okay? So if we have both, my masters, our Dharma is about refining your precept substance, okay? Whereas theirs is observing, following the precept marks. That's why we can afford to ignore it as long as we know what we're doing. But however, from a teaching perspective, we need to somehow, in the future, future generation, I don't have time to do that, you go back to learn the precept marks and combine them so that our Mahayana in English is so much richer, so much more fun. Yes, question?
Pardon my ignorance, but the learning of precepts also a form of population control?
No, not at all. The learning of precepts is never to control you. Learning of precepts is to give you peace and bliss and blessings. It's to benefit you. We never try to control you. We never try to influence you. It's for your own benefit. Everything the Buddha taught, everything we teach you in Mahayana is always for one goal only, is to benefit you. It's very good for you. You have to believe that. As you don't believe me right now, but in the future, it will come back. And you see that everything we do is never outside of benefiting you. Okay? Any other questions? You need to believe that. I believe it from my master. That's why, on the surface, they are breaking a lot of precepts, but it doesn't matter because that's actually much faster for them to become enlightened that way than for them to fret and worry, rigidly. And only my master sees it. That's why his second generation don't understand it anymore. They become terrified like the Hinayana. It's unfortunate because they never learn the precept marks or have the precept substance. Okay? Only a few handfuls of his disciples made it. Yes, anyone else? It's cool. I mean, to me, precepts is a gift from the Buddha. Definitely should take precepts, okay? Because it's creating wealth. What I would call passive income, if you will. You don't need to do a thing except keep precept, and the blessing keeps on multiplying by the seconds. Think about that. We don't have to invest in rental properties and work for our passive income. We just be ourselves, live a normal life, and we generate oodles and oodles of blessings. It's a superior Dharma. Yes?
Pardon my ignorance, sir. So how is it different from the Ten Commandments?
It's a lot more connected with the consequences. The Ten Commandments is, to me, they beat around the bush about the essence of morality is. And I don't need to go further because if I go further, it might sound like I'm criticizing them. It doesn't matter. Okay. If you follow 10 commandments, it's a good thing to do. But you follow the 5 precepts, I could tell you it's about 1 billion times better, at least. You get 1 billion times more benefits, at least. You become enlightened 1 billion times faster. What else is important to you? You're 1 billion times happier. Now I'm sounding like Xian, the salesman. Okay? It's kind of cool. It's very, very fascinating. All right. So the third paramita is the paramita of patience. Okay? Your practice to be patient is to endure what cannot be endured. If you do that, you naturally become more patient and more patient. Endure what you cannot endure, a little bit more. Then that will increase your patience. Okay? Going back to, for example, your stinginess, you give and it hurts. Okay? You keep on giving. That's both practicing the giving and patience because it hurts and you keep on enduring that. Okay? You see that? Or someone scolds you. Okay? Sometimes it hurts a lot more than the physical slap on the face, a punch, because the punch eventually heals, but the insult never healed for many people, including myself. Okay, so if someone scolds you, it's unbearable, and you still need to endure it. That's called practicing patience. Okay, this is the Chinese got it right. Endure what cannot be endured, and more and more and more. Okay, case in point, my disciples, they've been practicing standing meditation, not sitting down, not sleeping. Okay, and I allowed them to do 1 week for the first time. They did 2 bhikshus, did the cold turkey without any preparation. They did it, and extremely difficult. And they feel like giving up. They feel like at the end of their physical endurance, they still endured it. Okay? So that's practicing of patience as well. Questions? Okay, so don't have to go far. You go home, and your wife starts yelling at you, asking for more appliances. A newer car. Cars are very cheap nowadays. With the pandemic here, the manufacturers are desperate. They give us tremendous deals. The payments are lower on brand new car than the old used car. I'm told. I always wanted to buy a red car, but now it's the time. So your wife yells at you and complains and nags. You endure it. Don't talk about divorce. Don't talk about, giving her a hard time. Okay, that's a good thing. Okay, by the way, I'm joking, of course. I know most of your wives are wonderful ladies. But my point is that it's interesting to me when you practice Chan meditation, when you endure the discomfort right there, all of you become more patient. More and more patient. That's all natural. Okay? The Chan practice is incredible. Okay? One kind of patience paramita, which I find very interesting, is early on, my master says, when you are misunderstood, don't justify. I know, I had the same reaction. Don't justify? What? Say what? They totally misunderstand you, and you don't justify. And because they said, they don't misunderstand you, and and they yell at you, and they said, what do you have to say? He said, nothing. How does it help your cause? It makes it worse, I think. In my personal case, it makes it worse. It snowballs. The misunderstanding gets deeper and bigger. Okay, it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And my master says, don't justify. And how difficult it is to practice patience. You patiently endure the misunderstanding to the point where it could be very bad for you. Okay? Questions or comments? And after that, my disciples, as soon something would say, this person would say, oh, you don't understand here. Why is that always misunderstood? I never meant to do that. No, it's not like the way you see it. And it doesn't matter what I say. I said, just don't justify. This person will keep on justifying every single time. That's how difficult it is. Okay? Questions? So you have to be more patient. Okay. And then the fourth paramita is the Vigor Paramita. The Vigor Paramita is by definition. This is the Mahayana teaching. You more vigorous when for the good you're able to produce, you produce more. You vigorously produce more. For the good you are not yet producing, vigorously start producing. For the bad that you are, bad karmas you're creating, you vigorously work to eliminate them. And for that, and for the bad karmas you haven't created, you vigorously work to stop yourself from creating them. That's the classic definition of vigor. It's based on vigorously doing good and vigorously stopping the bad karmas. All right? It's that simple. It boils down to be aware of good and bad. That's why it goes back to number 2, morality. You practice morality, you know, deep in your heart, you know what's right and wrong, good and bad, okay? And that's why you need to refrain yourself, okay, from doing bad and doing only good. Yes, orange. Pink, sorry.
Master,
I stand corrected.
are we practicing vigor when we stop production of thoughts?
That's vigorously stopping bad karmas.
Yeah.
That's vigor. That's correct. Anyone else? Yes. 4 fingers.
Yes, Master. Going back to patience, what if we stay? What if if it's affecting other people, if we don't speak up, should we justify? Or we should try to stay patient, try to practice patience?
What if you don't justify and it hurts someone else? What do? That's what the question is. Never happened to me. How about the rest of you? Did it ever happen to you? See, my life is very simple. I live in a cocoon, if you will. So my experience is very limited. You can talk theory all you want. It's easy for me to talk about theory. What about you? What do you think? Yes, blue. Black? That's black, sorry. It's very bright here. Even though I turn off one of the lights, it's still very bright. Yes?
For example, I'd like to I wanted to come to the temple
Yes.
a lot,
Yes.
like I normally would before quarantine.
God bless you.
But I couldn't because my family is very afflicted.
Because of that. Yes.
Yeah, they didn't want me to go anywhere. Just
Yes.
stay in the house.
Yes.
Do nothing.
Especially with the pandemic thing.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I think I practiced patience until I could get clearance from, who was it, the governor?
From the authority.
To
Yes.
be able to go to a place of worship.
Yes.
And then I could practice vigor.
Yes. So you didn't justify, you simply shut up, right?
Yeah.
But the question is about what if you don't justify, you end up hurting others. Others are adversely affected by
Right,
that.
right.
How do you handle that? You see, I told you, very few of us have that problem. What do you do? Yeah, orange.
You let the chips fall where they may.
When the chess pieces fall, you forgot pieces. The chess pieces fall where they may. Some wisdom in there, Western wisdom in there. Or is it Indian wisdom? Go forth, waving microphone.
A Di Đà Phật. Dạ, thưa Thầy, when it comes to that situation, then you have to look back. If you don't justify it's going to hurt someone, then you have to go back to the morality and then you will have to justify based on the moral that you stand for. And
What if it's your
maybe
child?
if
What if it's your child who ends up getting hurt? How can you explain morality to your child? We have babies here that all they care about is eating and drinking. How can we explain morality to them?
No, what I meant is you have to use the morality for yourself. You say, okay, do I do this based on a moral issue? Then I should speak up, not justify for other people. You justify for other people if it's, if it's come to the part where it's going to harm other, and then you use your moral judgment to justify for that, for the other person.
Excellent. This
Not
is
explaining
Korea or San Jose? I got confused. How come there are only a handful over there in those way places, and there are like thousands? I mean, at least 10 of you here. Sorry, it's a slip of the tongue. How come they get it and you don't? You've been listening to my Dharma for 10 years now, some of you 12, 14 years, and you still don't get it. Why are we told not to justify? You see, it's so Chinese. See, that's why I tell you, if I only open my mouth and repeat what the Chinese I learned from the Chinese, you're going to be just as confused as the Chinese. Okay? Because they say, oh, I'm not supposed to justify because this is superior Dharma. But then some four-fingered people, they say, what if it hurts my child? Or it hurts my beloved ones? Or it hurts my better halves? Okay? It's about not justifying. What is justifying? Justifying is in order to protect your interest, right? Your self-interest. Right? That's why we justify. This person, disciple of mine, who keeps on justifying every single time, is that this person is protecting his or her interest. They're afraid to lose it. They're afraid to lose. There's no convincing this person. Don't justify. But. So that's why we don't justify in order to protect ourselves. But 4 fingers. It's okay to justify to protect others. Very good, San Jose. I'm moving in San Jose after Korea. Any other questions? You see how subtle the teaching is? And yet, if you leave it like that, become blind teaching as far as the Chinese do it. And then they get divorced and the child run away from home and they come back and say, Master, what did you do to my family? No, what did you do to the family? I didn't teach you that. The Chinese master says. Yes, internet.
Master, if I go to the temple and get infected, is it possible to infect my parents and family who are not heavy cultivators and their friends too?
Yes, it's possible.
Is this something I should be worried about? Because I want to come, but I feel like I may do more harm than good.
I know that happens to a lot of people. If that happens, okay, I will help your entire family. All right? We don't let little things stop us. Come on. How could little things like this stop us? Are you kidding me? Have you thought about it? It's just a tiny, tiny thing. And you're afraid of it? A tiny, tiny thing? We squash. Okay? Have no fear. Any questions? Yes, internet.
What is morality?
Morality is the clear definition, like in the 5 precepts, what's right and wrong. Okay? If you do the right things, you have great blessings by simply being or doing the right things. If you be the wrong things and do the wrong things, then you will fall to the hells. You will fall to the lower realms. That's the consequences. All right? That's very important. There is consequences in our actions, whether you see them or not. That's why the Buddha, in his infinite wisdom, says, it takes too long for me to explain to you all the consequences of your bad deeds. I will simply tell you the boundaries where you won't get in trouble, where you'll be safe, where you can be happier. If you violate precepts, it's very difficult to be happy. Very difficult, if not impossible. Okay, so for example, if your work involves stealing from others, okay, to make money, then you're violating precepts. Okay, you may get rich, but you're miserable. You feel miserable. Because you're the one who have to look at yourself in the mirror. And your Buddha nature disapproves of you. So inherently, you are unhappy with yourself, regardless. how much you drink, how much you smoke, how much you inhale. Doesn't matter. Your Buddha nature knows and disapproves of you. You disapprove of yourself. You're miserable. There's no denying that. Okay, so you practice vigor. Vigor is by definition, but I simplify it for you. To be vigorous is very important. You want to be vigorous in doing the right things and stopping the wrong things. That's what you want to be vigorous. Don't be vigorous by going after the bad things. Okay, that's the wrong kind of vigor. If you practice the right kind of vigor, then it boils down to not resting. And that's why we have a Chan Chi, where in this environment, okay, you only get to do the good things, create the good karmas. Yes, 5 fingers.
어떻게 하면 잠을 참을 수 있습니까?
다시.
어떻게 하면 잠을 참을 수 있습니까?
How can I endure the sleepiness?
How can I endure the sleepiness? God, I don't know. Chung-Yin Sunim, he's sleeping. During the 7 days while you didn't sleep, how did you endure the sleepiness? And this is where it's so great to practice with a lot of people. I don't have to do it, I just tell them to do it, and then they tell me how it's done. Yes.
벤치를 잡고 7일 동안 졸았습니다.
Sorry, say it one more time. People are laughing.
Repeat.
Holding the pew, and I fell asleep many times.
Shh. Of course I know, but it's funny. It's funny that, of course he knows. We know that, but I've been waiting for him to admit it. This guy is too honest. You have to learn to temper your honesty. Yeah. Say to me in private, not in public.
Sorry, Master.
Okay, so you endured it, right? You didn't sleep on purpose. Like for us, when we're sleepy, when we're tired, we lie down, we sleep. We're entitled to it. For you, it's different. He may admit to you that he on purpose, he leaned on the furniture to sleep for a few seconds, yes? Is it longer? Shame on you. Hours? Oh no. Oh my God, I'm so disappointed. I am demoting you. 7 down to 6 starting from tomorrow. How long do you sleep, do you know?
7일 내내 거의 졸음 상태에 있어서
Throughout the 7 days, I think I was sleepy. Throughout the 7 days.
But when you stand on your feet, there's no way you can sleep for very long. You fall.
계속 넘어졌습니다.
I continuously fell down.
What about Master Xianjie and my other boy? How did you deal with sleepiness? This guy has a sleepiness problem. He does my mixer and he falls asleep while mixing. Yes.
It was helpful. I mean, when sitting, it's very easy for me to fall asleep. So it was easier to fight the sleepiness when standing or walking. But yeah, there were times when just had to lean on something and catch some sleep.
On purpose?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Oh, I'm disappointed. Yeah. Okay, we will never talk about standing meditation and no sleeping ever again with these people. So what's the point? The point is...
Yeah, we kept fighting it. I slept a lot less than
That's
other
the key
times.
word. You keep fighting. We're not talking about success, are we? Vigor doesn't mean, does it say in a definition of vigor that you must be successful? I can't hear you. Thank you. Isn't that beautiful? Unless you ask, I will not tell you. It's about trying your best and keep on trying your best and keep on trying your best. That's what it's about. It's not about being successful in your endeavor. You keep on trying and trying and trying. One day, you break through. Okay? Only wimps want to be successful. We are tough. We don't need to be successful. We keep on trying and trying and trying. We don't give up. We don't quit. We don't rest and we don't quit. That's vigor. We're relentless. Yes, Internet.
If you lie to someone to not hurt them, are you still breaking precepts?
You lie to someone and you don't hurt them, is that breaking precepts? Sometimes, yes, you are breaking precepts. Yes?
For example, what if my girl asks if her new dress makes her look fat? I gotta lie, right?
She asked what again?
What if my girl asks if her new dress makes her look fat? I gotta lie, right?
Girlfriend or just a baby girl? Girlfriend, lie. It's for the sake of humanity. It's no longer for ourselves. For future generations. So bad. Okay? Yeah. Precepts is kind of a cool animal because you know you have to break precepts. The more you study precepts, you know, I'm breaking it. And you have to decide for yourself. So, do I or don't I? And there are times where part of the practice is that you have to break precepts. That's why I don't subscribe to the Chinese way. I'd rather die than break precepts. Are you crazy? I'm thinking about my children, my future children, the future of mankind. How can you be so selfish? I'm thinking about harmony. Okay? Think about her happiness. You see that? The precept Dharma is not that inflexible. To me. That's when that's when Hinayana people and my master say, oh, evil, evil, evil. All right? It's a lot more, but I don't have time to go into it. It just takes too long to explain to you. It's kind of fun to me. These concepts are fundamental and they're very profound. You can, I give an example. For a bodhisattva, bodhisattvas, they realize these paramitas, they perfected these paramitas, and you know what? And they still spend lifetimes practicing one paramita. Just one, they spend lifetimes. For example, have you heard, quoting the scriptures, heard of the patient immortal in a prior life of Shakyamuni Buddha? Huh? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. 500 lifetimes.
500 times, the patient immortal.
500 lifetimes he's been practicing until he met with the king, the Kalinga king. 500 lifetimes. That's how it's iterative process. You keep on honing it and perfecting it. And you know what it means? That he failed miserably 500 lifetimes. I don't know how else to describe it to you. He's an utter failure for 500 lifetimes. That's why he kept on doing it and doing it and doing it. He still failed. That's how cool about this precept paramita. You keep on getting better and better and better. Okay. It's not the way that the Chinese say, be prepared to die to keep your precept substance. Too Chinese. All right? Any other questions? All right. So we have Vigor Paramita. Oh, we only have 8 minutes. I better go very fast. Okay? Because if I don't finish this, next time new people come and said, how come you only talk about wisdom and you don't talk about giving morality? Okay. So anyway, so next one is samadhi or dhyana concentration. You practice chant. Okay, practice meditation. Meditation is by far, bar none, okay, the best way to develop samadhi, to develop concentration. Okay, in particular, Mahayana meditation, like chant, is so advanced in developing this, much more than anything else in the world. That's our secret. That's why we get to train our people so fast. So far, so good. So, all the things, giving, morality, patience, vigor, is in order to lead you, to enable you to develop concentration. That's why, if you see that progression, then you understand that ultimately, okay, in the Mahayana Dharma, we have expedients that bring us to this is where it starts paying off, where you start seeing results. Am I making sense? For the Chinese and Indian, all those people, Tibetans, whatever, they say, oh, because Master says so, therefore it must be so. It doesn't work for us Westerners. You need to see results. Okay? Because you see results, reinforces your faith. It deepens your faith. Whereas these people who say, I believe in Master, and I heard it before, so many people, I believe you. As soon as something different occurs, the belief, the faith evaporates just as quickly as they believe me. Okay? That's life. So these all the giving, all the morality, all the patience, the vigor, eventually will bring you to finally see results that is really so beneficial to you, incredibly beneficial to you. We're not talking about giving. For example, you give, you become rich. Okay? But being rich has issues. That's why we don't stop at giving. We never say give in order to be rich. Okay? Because you will be rich whether we say it or not. It's irrelevant. Right? It's the consequence of giving. But eventually, when you get to the fifth samadhi, the Samadhi Paramita, that's when you begin to experience that bliss, that peace, that will make you feel it's worthwhile, all the hardship, all those things we have to endure, all the vigor, all the patience, all the morality, all the hurting from being stingy is paying off. Okay? And you can feel it. Okay? And that's when it's paying off. That's why, just a side comment, this is why the Buddhists is very clever. Okay? The Mahayana Buddhists is very clever. They know that you don't want, you're stingy, so teaching you giving is too difficult. Okay? You know that you are so self-centered and you only believe in the religion of money and self-gratification, so don't talk to you about morality. Okay? You're totally impatient. Okay, life's too short, you say. Vigor is that, yes, you vigorously create offenses, and because it's so enjoyable, so much more enjoyable to you, evil people, to create offenses. Okay? And so we teach you the first four paramitas, we'll be losing you left and right. So in Mahayana, it's so clever, I finally understood why we taught you chant. Because those of you who follow the recipe, the way we train you, you are doing all the first four. As you come here and practice, as you practice, you naturally are practicing the first four. And then, because of that, it's much easier to develop samadhi or increase your samadhi. It is ingenious. Only in Mahayana we have that. And that's the genius in my teacher. Because ultimately, we need to give enough, we need to be moral enough, we need to be patient enough, we need to be vigorous enough, so that we, his disciples, not me, his disciples, could become enlightened. It's so genius, it's so ingenious. I watched that and I said, wow, it's so clever, so Chinese. Chinese are so clever. So, because they're so clever, we need to be more clever even. It's still too slow. Yes, internet. Quickly, I only have 1 more minute. I need to go to wisdom.
Is samadhi a reward? Is it a reward for good merit and holding precepts and the other paramitas?
Yes. You will feel so good. You'll be so proud of yourself. You say, this is it. I'm sold. Okay? And naturally, when you have samadhi, Number 6 occurs naturally at the same time because of the way we train you. Okay? If you have samadhi, you have wisdom simultaneously. That's how fast we are. Isn't it cool? And that's the 6 paramitas. As I promised, I finish on time. Thank you, everyone. Next time, 300. Tomorrow.
자, 인사.
Thank you, Master.
Thank you, Master.
Thank you. 감사합니다.
자. 아직도 아파요?
발목이.
그럼 아직 풀지 마. 조금만. 시 통했어요?